I was like a little against it. I don't like giving up. And
Yeah.
it felt like giving up. Everything else failed, and this was like our last option. In the infertility world, you kind of have like steps. We're going to do this procedure, and then this one, and then this one. And if this one fails, we're going to do this one.
Yeah.
And adoption's the last thing.
Yeah.
And so it kind of hit me like, oh my gosh, we failed at everything. This is our last option. We failed at having our own biological kid.
When all else fails, just buy a baby. That's the theme of today's video, the story of Della Vlogs. We're going to be talking about Bella and Dallin Lambert, their adoption journey, and the shady adoption consultants they went through to facilitate not just one adoption, but 2 adoptions to acquire 2 healthy, white, blonde, beautiful babies. All right, I gotta pause this for a second here. Getting the call that an expecting mom has chosen. So you're gonna notice this as a theme, not just in this video, not just in the first adoption video they posted, but this is just a theme really in adoption in general, that people, when they're announcing they're adopting children, don't have much interest in actually talking about the fact that it takes a woman to actually produce this child for this couple, right? We're not just like pushing a baby out of nowhere. The baby isn't just falling out of the sky. And we're referring to this woman not as the child's mother, which is, what she is. We're referring to this woman as an expecting mom. Not even like our birth mom, our something. Bella and Dallin aren't even like pretending that this person has any connection to their child or to this family. It's just a random woman who's giving them their child. And that's really all you're gonna hear about this woman in reference to her.
I like to think it's similar to when someone first finds out that they're pregnant.
I gotta choose my words carefully here, and I wanna be respectful towards people who are battling infertility, who have experienced infertility, but this is not the same thing as finding out that you're pregnant. This call to Bella and Dallin represents an extreme positive. A child has become available to us through adoption. But this call represents a mother and a child who cannot stay together. A mother who is not able to parent her own child, or at least in this moment feels that she's not able to parent her own child. So to this couple, that might feel like an extreme positive, but this is tragic. This is a family that is being torn apart in service of family building, but we don't hear about that in these happy adoption videos. Now Bella and Dallin find out the gender, and this is just a little bit of tone-deaf influencer critiques here, but like, I can't stand this.
This is the most special thing ever, and I'm going to cherish this forever. We were able to get the baby's heartbeat recorded for story, and listen.
Okay, so much wrong with this, because first of all, imagine being the mother. Imagine like not being 100% sure that you want to relinquish your child for adoption. You go to your ultrasound appointment, and by the way, you have to go to the ultrasound appointment and have these people in the room with you to begin with. But then on top of that, you have these people buying this like expensive Build-A-Bear toy, probably like 50 bucks, of a heartbeat, and it's like, I get it. It's cute, but what if you choose to parent your child and now these people have this heartbeat toy of your child that they have given to their daughter? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's sending these weird conflicting messages to Story, this girl who now is being told, you're gonna have this sister, here's her heartbeat, but like, what if this girl doesn't end up being her sister? What if this is just a heartbeat of a random girl who they end up not adopting, because that is very much within the realm of possibility here. It just is coercion. It's a means of making this mother feel pressured to choose adoption, because now you have this family that is already prepared. They have a crib, they have this toy, they're telling their daughter, you're gonna have a sister, you're gonna have a sister, look at this family. This girl basically belongs to them at this point, when adoption papers have not been signed. This child is not legally Bella's or Dallin's, and will not legally be theirs for many months, if ever, at this point.
The birth mom picked this out.
Yeah.
Which
She picked the lion out for story.
I like it.
This is how we're gonna tell story.
Adoption gives people the illusion of choice. Like, wow, it's so nice that the birth mom chose this. I hate the term birth mom, by the way. It just reduces a person to their bodily function. She's a human incubator, but she chose this for our daughter. Like, she's probably not the one that's like, hey guys, let's go to Build-A-Bear and buy a $50 toy for this child that is going to only belong to this child if you guys end up adopting her. Because obviously, if I end up adopting her, she has no use for this toy, right? It's just a toy that exists to push her in the direction of adoption. It is so coercive, and she might feel like she's involved, she might feel like she's part of the process, but it is very hard to see this not serving as at least a level of coercion. That here's another thing to remind you that adoption is right for your child. Adoption is what you should do, because this family desperately wants your child. This is just brutal to watch, by the way. Like, first of all, you have a kid, like a 2-year-old with a mint in her mouth, definitely a choking hazard. How much of her life is just this? Like, sitting in front of a camera, having an adult coach you on how to perform for this random, arbitrary YouTube audience, millions of people, by the way. This is so invasive. She doesn't deserve to be an unpaid laborer in this capacity. She deserves privacy. Now the entire world knows this kid is adopted. The entire world is gonna know this other kid's adopted because, by the way, we adopted another baby. I grew up and I somewhat blended into my adoptive family. And there are adopted people who just don't blend in at all, right? Like, you have a black kid adopted by a white family, an Asian kid adopted by a white family, a white kid adopted by a black family. Like, it happens in a lot of different ways. It's kind of nice to be able to not have to bring up the fact that you're adopted 24/7. It's gonna come up a lot. Like, even if you look like your adopters, it's going to come up. But this just gives her no chance at all to conceal that part of her story, to not have to discuss it if she doesn't want to have to discuss it. Everyone knows now. This is who you are. And yeah, it's just frustrating. Like, not every adopted person wants that to be a part of their story. Not every adopted person wants to have to tell people they're adopted. And by the way, like, not every adopted person, I would say 99% of people in the world do not want to be on stage performers and make zero money off of their performance, by the way. Children cannot consent to this. This is gross.
Dory, listen. Hey, listen. You're gonna be a big sister. Do you think it's a boy or girl? The baby. A boy or girl?
I don't know.
Oh, you want more?
Mine.
Right here.
She likes the heartbeat.
Aww.
Story. Do you think the baby is a boy or a girl?
You okay?
Do you think it's a
I can't even watch this. Like, she's not playing the game. She doesn't want to do this. Clearly doesn't want to do this. And you'll see, like, if you actually watch this whole video, she doesn't respond. She just doesn't answer the question. Because, of course she doesn't. She's a 2-year-old. She doesn't want to answer every single question. But they will not let it go. Because this is what happens when you're a YouTube vlogger. Like, your kid has to perform. They have to try. It's just, hey, can you please say this? Please say this. Please say this. Please say that. Like, leave them alone.
boy or girl?
Tell mommy, boy or girl.
Which one? Boy or girl?
Dude, imagine just being this guy on the safari, right? Like, every single place these people go to, they're just recording random people who clearly don't want to be on camera, but have no choice. Sorry, dude, you're in the background of this video. Sorry, everyone in the airport. Sorry, everyone everywhere we travel. You're just gonna be in the background of our videos, whether you like it or not. It is so inconsiderate. Like, imagine just being on a safari, paying all this money to go on some fancy trip, and you have the people sitting in front of you like, hey, Della, hey, Bella, let's record for our YouTube video. Hey guys! I've traveled so much, and traveling is infinitely more fun and more memorable when you don't have a camera in front of your face the whole time. These people are so performative.
Bella has this app that keeps track of the baby's progress.
The baby is 31 weeks and 1 day and is the size of a coconut.
Which is so cool because here on this island in Tonga, there are thousands of coconuts.
Yeah, so I think we need to go get one in honor of the baby hitting 31 weeks.
We asked a guy to climb the tree.
Dude, Dallin, you climb the tree. Like, you're an able-bodied adult man. Come on, just climb the tree. Get the coconut. You want to do something dumb like that, just get the coconut yourself, or at least pay this guy like a decent amount of money for doing it. And by the way, let's just talk about the fact they're in Tonga. There's a very, very clear connection between Della vlogs, like Bella and Dallin, and the LDS Church, and we're gonna talk about that in this video because they didn't adopt through a Mormon adoption agency, they adopted through a Christian adoption consultant group. And I find that a little bit interesting. We're gonna talk about it. It's actually crazy. You know what's crazy to me is just ruining every genuine moment with family and friends by shoving a camera in their face. And then now these people have to perform on camera like, oh, I'm so happy for you, I'm so happy. Like, why can't they just have a normal reaction and not have a camera shoved in their face all the time? I don't know. Maybe that's just me being nitpicky, but like, I would be so annoyed if every time I went to a family gathering, I'm with these people and there's just a camera in my face 24/7. So now they get the call that the baby is coming, in quotes. We're gonna find out. I'm just gonna skip forward a little bit. The baby is not coming, but they believe in this moment that the baby is coming. So what do? They buy plane tickets to go fly to where this mother is living, wherever she's living. Maybe Florida where she gives birth, maybe not, because Christian adoption consultants and just adoption consultants throughout the country will fly pregnant women all over the country to adoption-friendly states to give birth. And we're gonna talk about that, but for now, just know this is like easily a $1,000 plus, probably $1,500 plus bill that Bella and Dallin are just paying out of pocket because they can. Not everyone who wants to adopt has the luxury of just flying on a whim across the country in a day from, Phoenix to maybe Florida, maybe somewhere else. It's an extremely massive amount of money to just be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna fly day of because, we think we can. It's a ton of money to just throw around of like, oh hey, I guess, the baby's gonna be born, so we're gonna fly across the country. And really, like, it says so much. Because adoption agencies want you to be in the hospital when the baby is born. Contrary to popular belief, it's not because they want Bella to be able to experience that moment during childbirth where she gets to see the child being born from that moment the child comes out, although obviously that's probably part of the equation. The reason why these adoption agencies want people like Bella to be in the hospital room with the mother is because it's pressure. The mother doesn't have time alone with her baby because there's people in the hospital room waiting to take that baby from her the second the baby is born. Adoption is a pay-to-play game. And there's a reason why these agencies prefer people with money. Because if Bella flies to this mother who is about to give birth and the mother doesn't ultimately give birth, it's not a huge hitch in the plan, right? Bella can still fly out the next time the mother starts feeling like she's having contractions or she's ready to give birth. Bella can fly out as often as she needs to in order to ensure that she's gonna be in the hospital as quickly as possible. Because again, for Bella, it might not be about pressure, but for this adoption agency to get paid to facilitate this transaction and these adoption consultants, they want you in the hospital. Because if you're in the hospital, the odds of the baby not being relinquished for adoption, the odds of the mother choosing to parent her child go drastically down. I've spoken to social workers who say that virtually zero mothers will change their mind once the hopeful adopters are in the hospital room with them. So Bella quickly finds out that the baby is not going to be delivered right now. Like the baby is not being given birth to. It's just, fake contractions or whatever it may have been. But again, that's just $1,500 out of pocket or whatever it may have been. And that's no big deal to her at all. She's not complaining about it. Not that she should. I mean, they're rich, but like, even most people who are rich enough to adopt don't have the type of money to just be able to throw $1,500 at a round trip plane ticket for 3 people that quickly. And this again is just so gross to me. Like you fly all the way out there and the adoption agency is like, well, Bella and Dallin flew all this way. We should at least get a heartbeat. Like we shouldn't just have them fly all the way out here for nothing when it's not their baby. She keeps saying the baby, not our baby, because she has not adopted this child. There's a reason she says the baby, and there's a reason why when her and Dallin fly all the way out there that it's not just the baby's not born, we're just gonna fly home. The adoption agency wants these people to get into some sort of medical environment with this mother because again, they want to remind this mother, these are your child's parents, not you, these are your child's parents. And to be able to get them into a room where they're seeing the heartbeat, where they're fawning over this child is just a reminder to this mother that they can give her what she cannot give to her child.
Last night was the last time I put Story to bed as a family of 3. Why is that sad?
Oh, wow, this is crazy.
They're not even making eye contact with each other. Like, I don't understand how people watch these videos. They're literally not even talking to each other. They're talking to the camera. Bella is kind of glancing over at Dallin. Dallin's just like looking off into the corner like, this is so crazy. This is so crazy. Are they even excited? Like, I really can't tell. To me, and look, I don't want to be that guy, but if you look at their YouTube channel, the timing seems a little coincidental because you look at when they adopted the first kid's Story and it's like, and by the way, I hate that these people rename the kids they're adopting. Like these children already have identities and names before you adopted them. Why not just honor that part of their identity? But I'd be remiss not to point out the fact that the views on this channel have significantly decreased since adopting the first kid, right? 10 million views on the adoption video. Obviously like the adoption scam video, which I might have to make a whole video on this because this was totally insane to pretend like these people are victims about this when they are begging their followers for a baby and got scammed when they're literally trying to solicit a baby from internet strangers. They're not victims in that at all. Again, might have to make a video about that. But yeah, 3.8 million views. This is when they got on a lot of people's radar. 10 million views, 2 million views, 1 million views, 2 million views. The views start slowly dropping. And by the way, all of these videos have the kid's face on the thumbnail. All these videos are not only monetized, but have like brand deals with big name brands, Walmart, Target, a bunch of other big name brands. They're just making money off of this kid. But as you can see, the views are going down and down and down and down until 187,000 views, 200, 170. Okay, this one had some decent views, 600,000 views. Of course, you got some African kids, so that might have to do with it. I don't really know. But they're getting like a fifth of the views now that they were getting before. And it seems a little bit coincidental that like once the views go down, all of a sudden we're back with a 2 million view video. You know, they haven't had over 1 million views on a video since when? It's been literally more than a year since the last video they posted that got 1 million views. But of course this one, 2 million views. It's gonna make them a bunch of money to adopt. And obviously adoption costs a lot of money. We're gonna talk about the money side side of adoption, but when you are able to monetize the child and make literally hundreds of thousands of dollars off of this child, I mean, these people will have made over $1 million off of Story alone by her 18th birthday if they continue doing things the way they're doing them, then yeah, it's actually a profitable endeavor to adopt a child and to milk that child for ad revenue on the internet. Of course, for whatever reason, adoption agencies, adoption professionals throughout the United States have zero issue with influencers adopting. I have no idea why, but for whatever reason, influencers are just totally fair game. They can adopt children, even though the government and like these adoption agencies, the social workers, everyone knows this child is going to get milked for ad revenue and to become a non-consenting salesperson on the internet. But for some reason, that is not a disqualifier when it comes to adoption, because really nothing is disqualifying in adoption. Most hopeful adopters don't even have to take a drug test to adopt.
I'm nervous and trying to get us.
Gotta pause for a second. Rental car for several days because look, when you're adopting across state lines, you can't just take the kid across state lines the second you adopt them. There's this thing in place called the ICPC, which is like basically this agreement between states that you can't just take a child across state lines the second you adopt them. You have to finalize the adoption, which takes days or weeks. Forgetting whatever they're paying for childcare, maybe their parents are watching the other kids so they don't have to pay anything or whatever. Rental car for at least a week is another, $1,000 probably, maybe more. Adoption costs a lot of money, and we're going to talk about, literally a lot of the money that you pay for adoption just goes into the pockets of adoption agencies as a profit. But the reason adoption can be so expensive for so many people is because not everyone who wants to adopt has the means of just like flying across the country multiple times within a month on short notice, paying for a car rental for weeks or even a month plus in some cases. It is an extremely expensive endeavor. The hotel room that you might be staying in for weeks, it is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And this all might seem kind of complicated, but later in this video, I'm gonna explain why adoption really is so expensive, because it's not as simple as adoption agencies charge insane prices, although that's definitely part of the equation. As an adopted person, I just have to say this. It's really sad to watch this. It's really sad to see a child that was just born not in its mother's arms. You can say what you want to say about the natural mother. We don't know her circumstances. We don't know why she relinquished. We don't know how pressured she may or may not have felt about all of this. But adoption in the United States didn't used to look like this. In fact, like when adoption was first a thing in this country, children remained with their mothers for the first weeks, if not the first 3 months of their lives, so they could be breastfed, so they could have that like really crucial developmental time with their mother to be able to bond with her, to be able to get all of the benefits that we assume that children get from being with their mothers, in the same way that there's a reason we don't separate puppies or kittens or other animals from their mothers for the first weeks, if not months of their lives. It's because we know that 4th trimester is super important. It's not like adoption professionals don't understand this science, that infants need their mothers, that they attach to their mothers, that this healthy bonding is necessary for their development. Adoption agencies behind closed doors will talk a lot about how adoption is trauma, but when they're talking to someone like Della who is adopting, or they're talking to a natural mother who is considering adoption, they're not going to talk about adoption being trauma. Not just the act of your family being replaced by another family, but literally being removed from your natural mother virtually the moment you're born in service of adoption. This child is being held by a stranger. And I'm not saying that to demean Della or Dallin or whoever, but the reality is there's a reason why we don't separate children from their mothers. We know that developmentally children need to be with their mothers early in life. Like that is the best case scenario. And you can do adoption in a way where these children are still kept with their mother for the first, weeks, months, whatever it's required. But adoption agencies don't ever bring this up. Adoption agencies don't ever offer this as an option for people. Adoption agencies push and push and push for adoptions to happen as quickly and as early as possible in the hospital room. We see adopters in the hospital room. It's because they want to separate these children from their mothers. They're afraid that mothers will bond with their children and choose to parent should they have that opportunity to bond with their children. They're afraid that all of this threatens the transaction and the money that goes into the pockets of these adoption agencies. There is so much more to the Della and Dallin adoption story than just the trauma of infant adoption in itself. But I feel like this is just so important to get out there because people don't understand. Like when my first kid was born, I was a wreck. Not just because I was becoming a parent for the first time, but because I realized I didn't get this. I was this baby right here. I didn't get what my kid had. I was in the arms of strangers. It's difficult to reconcile with that. I love all of my families. I say none of that to say anyone in my life did like the wrong thing or that they're bad people. But like to recognize that your developmental needs weren't met when they could have been met, and that everyone in your life would have very likely been willing to meet your developmental needs in that capacity. And yet none of them did because some facilitator is instructing you that the best case scenario is that you're separated from your mother as early as possible because that's going to make the adoption happen. I hate to say this, But again, it is a theme throughout this video. It is a theme throughout pretty much everything they talk about with adoption. But there's a certain person they don't thank in this. Oh, thank you to the incredible nurses that took care of our baby girl. We love you guys. They don't mention the natural mother at all in this video. It's just cosplaying natural biological parenthood. And it's really interesting. Like, I always find this interesting. Adoption agencies will always talk about how it's not blood that makes a family, it's love that makes a family. But yet in adoption, everything they do is deliberately designed to simulate biological parenthood. You don't have to have these people in the hospital room. There's nothing beneficial about ripping this child away from its mother within the first hour of its birth. And to just talk about this child as if this child was born to you, to not acknowledge the circumstances the child came from. Wow, it is so sad. This child had to be removed from her family in order to become ours. This mother gets no acknowledgement, positive, negative, or neutral throughout this entire video. And I just find it kind of insane. If you have time to thank the nurses, you have time to at least acknowledge, especially in a video where you're literally talking about we adopted, like, to not say anything about this child's mother. Just kind of insane to me. So now we have Story flying back to Bella and Della, I think with like one of their parents. Again, just imagine being one of these guys in the airport, just having a whole camera set up right in front of you. Totally staged moment. Can't even get out of the way. Like, they're not even saying, hey guys, we're filming something. You might, if you don't want to be on camera, go over there. Like, no, you're just gonna be in our shot. This is important, guys. We're gonna make money here. We're gonna set up this whole staged moment where our, adopted daughter is gonna come up and hug us and look at how great we are. Look how great parents we are because she loves us so much. Here it goes. Like, they're just yelling at her in the airport. It's so obnoxious. Literally, like, no one is watching. Like, everyone's just trying to go to their flight. But you got multiple cameras. You got, like, again, the camera that's on this tripod, wherever this camera is. You've got Della recording on the camera. This music is insane. Turn the music down, please. Oh my gosh, this guy's just like, what is happening right now? It is just so much. Like, again, this has nothing to do with the adoption stuff, but like, can we just stop these family vloggers? Seriously, this is just ridiculous. Our baby girl's name. Dear God, don't be worse than Story. I mean, I don't know. I hate these adoption names, okay? Bella Adalin named Story because it's the story of their infertility. Like, it's not about her, it's about that she represents what she represents to Bella and Dallin. She's their trophy for beating infertility. People don't realize this, but adopted people have two birth certificates. We have one birth certificate that gets sealed in court that in most states we have zero access to. Our own vital record, we don't get the ability to actually access that document with our original name on it that lists our parents on the birth certificate. Again, that birth certificate gets sealed in court and we get reissued a new document that says that the people who adopt us gave birth to us. Della is the one who pushed this child out of her, downstairs area. And they get to choose the name. They get to choose whatever they want. They just get to make up, it's Build-A-Bear Workshop with a human being. Yeah, let's see what they name her.
Yeah, you're gonna love the name. So, we picked out a really special name.
I just want to ask, I wonder if Warren, I know they're an LDS family, was Warren named after Warren Jeffs? Wasn't Warren Jeffs an LDS guy? FLDS. Is this the same thing as Mormon Church? Maybe not. I don't know. In any case, being in Utah and being named Warren, kind of unfortunate. Let's see. Could name her after him.
Name it, yeah.
He's like, did you name her Warren?
Lynn Lambert.
Rennie. Classic influencer name. And then again, it's like, he knows she's recording, so he's got, okay, I gotta cry now. Okay, best crying impression. Like, this is such an unnatural moment because he knows that this is just gonna go on the internet for her video. She might not even have to tell him, but he doesn't have to be told. This is for the YouTube video. This is a very personal moment. It's fodder for the internet at this point.
We're gonna call her Red for short.
That's cool. Like, I don't want to speak to the relationship that he will have with his child at one point, but this guy does not care. All right, let's be real. This guy does not care that the name is Rennie.
Any other kids called that? That'd be awesome.
I've never heard any other kids call that. Like, yeah, he just knows. It's one of the, what do they call it? The tragedy names? He knows. It's just another influencer kid name. Like, all right. I kind of respect this guy. I mean, he married someone who has done some bad things and has a daughter who's done some questionable things. But hey, a little bit of respect to this guy for at least like kind of pretending, or at least kind of acknowledging he doesn't really love the name, or at least that's what it seems like to me. I just want to say this. I'm really not saying this to spoil the parade here, okay? But I just find it so frustrating. And I am someone who was adopted that was given a family name of my adoptive family. It's so infuriating that in order to give the adopted child this family name, you have to remove a family name. This child had a name that was given to her by her mother, presumably. To give this child a family name had to be removed from her. Something had to be taken away from her. When we watch these videos, we don't see that. A lot of adopted people, when their adopters die, will go to court and get their names legally changed because to them it's important to reclaim that part of identity that was removed from them, that was stripped from them through the act of adoption. And now we see them going back to the Airbnb. Again, a massive, massive expense. We don't know how long they're here for, but probably at least a week. I mean, they could have gone to a hotel, they could have gone somewhere a little less, glamorous, but that's not the choice, right? They're going to this Airbnb with this big leather couch. Like, I'm not here to say it's the fanciest Airbnb on earth, who really knows? But they could have gone to a hotel, they didn't. This is, again, thousands and thousands of dollars that are being added to the bill as we speak. Let's talk about why they're in the Airbnb. And this is really, I think, the most crucial part of this entire video, because adoption, even in the past 30 years, has transformed significantly. Obviously, since the inception of adoption in the United States, adoption has changed a lot. But when people talk about Bella and Della doing unethical adoption or designer baby shopping, there's a reason why people are talking about it this way. And that is because this is not the way that adoption historically looked. They're flying to Florida. And I think it's important to talk about why they're in Florida. And let's talk about Christian adoption consultants. They've literally said on camera this is who they've adopted through. They said it on a podcast. And they also, in a deleted video, literally shouted out Christian adoption consultants. I'll play the clip right here.
Like, give a shout out to our adoption consultants. We went through Christian adoption consultants. They go by CAC, and they were amazing. They do all their research, so they they know all the ethical agencies.
I actually commented on that video that Christian adoption consultants was under a Federal Trade Commission investigation, and pretty much right after I commented that, they deleted the video. Here's the Federal Trade Commission warning letter that was sent to a lot of different adoption consultants, including Christian adoption consultants. I have the list. Let's read it really quick. Federal Trade Commission staff sent letters to 31 adoption intermediaries warning them against misleading consumers with respect to placement rates and placement time, suppressing negative reviews, or engaging in other unfair or deceptive practices that can harm prospective adoptive parents and birth parents. Adoption intermediaries are individuals or entities that act as middlemen between prospective adoptive parents and birth parents in private adoptions in exchange for a fee, often in the tens of thousands of dollars. These entities, sometimes called adoption advertisers, facilitators, consultants, matchmakers, or brokers, are not licensed adoption agencies. Christian adoption consultants is not an adoption agency. As such, it is essential that they are truthful and not deceptive about who they are and what they can do for prospective clients, staff noted in the letters. The letters announced today detail the staff's concerns that adoption intermediaries may be violating the FTC Act through deceptive or misleading advertising and the Consumer Review Fairness Act, which prohibits companies from preventing consumers from providing honest, negative reviews of products and services. The letters provide specific examples of conduct that could be considered deceptive or misleading, including an adoption intermediary representing in paid Google advertisements that it is an adoption agency may leave consumers with the false impression that it is a licensed child placing adoption agency. Christian adoption consultants absolutely was on the list of recipients of this letter. That doesn't mean that receipt of this letter means that they are guilty of what this FTC warning letter is warning them of. But I think it's worth pointing out because adoption consultants are extremely, extremely shady. Now let's just go to a basic page in the Christian adoption consultants website. The services checkout, right? Please complete payment. All right, this is just what you go through when you're going to complete payment. And I just find some of this stuff really interesting. This I find interesting. You have under $45,000 as an option for your adoption budget. It says this amount falls outside of adoption average fees and may need to be increased through adoption fundraising, grants, and or funding. Just it goes to show adoption is extremely expensive, especially when you tack on the thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars that adoption consultants are charging on top of the adoption agency fees and everything else you might be paying. This I find really interesting. We both are active and practicing Christians. Bella and Della are members of the LDS Church. And I know there's this whole kind of theological debate about are Mormons Christians? But to me, I just find this really interesting because if you're a mother who wants her child to grow up in a Christian family, I believe you should be entitled to see whether these Christians are Christians, Catholics, Mormons, Lutherans. Like, how do they identify their faith? There is no specification on this entire website for Mormon. It just says we are Christians. So if you're Catholic, if you're Mormon, if you're a Christian, if you're Lutheran, if you're Presbyterian, all of of it just falls under Christian. And I find that interesting because, again, I think if you ask the majority of people who identify as Christians in the United States, is there a difference between your child being raised by a Christian and a Mormon? Most people would say yes. Many people would not want their child to be raised by Mormons. And at the end of the day, I just don't know if this mother was aware or is aware that Bella and Dallin are Mormons. It's not like something they actually advertise or broadcast to their audiences. People can practice or believe what they want to practice or believe, but I feel like this is kind of robbing the mothers in these circumstances of a real choice by just broadly saying that anyone who vaguely identifies as a Christian counts as a Christian in this circumstance. Again, you've got this statement of faith, clients acknowledged to be active and practicing Christians. You've got a confidentiality agreement as well as a non-compete agreement, which I find really interesting. Like, clearly they had to have gone through Christian adoption consultants for this specific endeavor, because there is a period of 36 months immediately following the termination/fulfillment of this agreement where you're under non-compete. You cannot work with a competitor of Christian adoption consultants. So clearly they went through Christian adoption consultants. It has not been 36 months since they adopted Story. And let's talk just for a second about Florida. There's a reason why adoption consultants like Christian adoption consultants and others work specifically predominantly in Utah and Florida. You'll often find women being literally transported across state lines so that they give birth in the state of Utah or in the state of Florida, even if these mothers are not residents of those respective states. In Utah, the earliest time you can sign consent is 24 hours after delivery, 48 hours after C-section, but crucially, the time frame you have to revoke your consent, meaning the time you have to decide, you know what, actually, I want to parent my kid, let me go back and get my kid after I had already signed the adoption papers, there is no time. You cannot revoke your consent in Utah, whereas in other states, you might get 5 days, 10 days, 10 days, some within like 60 days. It really depends on the state. But in Utah especially is crazy because the father does not have to consent to the adoption in any circumstance. And even in circumstances in fraudulent representations, Utah will not overturn an adoption. So let's go to Florida. Florida is another one of those adoption-friendly states where the laws are directly written to serve adoption facilitators. In independent adoptions, either 48 hours after birth or when you are notified in writing that you are fit to be discharged, you are able to sign adoption papers through an adoption agency. Anytime after birth, you are able to sign adoption papers. In theory, you can push out the baby, lean to your right, and sign off the adoption papers. And crucially, you cannot revoke your consent in Florida if the child was under 6 months of age when consent was given. You could have a mother who is heavily medicated, sedated, whatever, that is like still struggling or trying to recover from giving birth, signs away her rights without realizing it, or does realize it but is still kind of in this haze, this fog, and that's it. That's it. The adoptive family, that's their baby now. You can't really go back. It's just insane to think that such a profoundly life-changing decision can be made basically on a whim in these circumstances. Like, you can just sign away your rights and there's no going back. You just can't get your baby back after that.
I'm sorry, by the way, my camera audio died, so if the audio quality gets worse throughout this video, that's just my camera dying, and I don't really have that much time to record. I'm not a full-time, YouTube family vlogger or whatever. But let's just talk really quickly about adoption. Adoption is incredibly expensive. And the number one reason why adoption is expensive, contrary to popular belief, is because it takes a lot of money to convince someone to relinquish her child for adoption. Hopeful adopters often comfort themselves by trying to convince themselves that, there are just a lot of babies out there that are in need of adoption. But the reality is there are not. The number of adoptable infants in the United States has been shrinking since the 1970s. Like, Roe v. Wade really seemed to have a profound impact on the ability of people, and specifically adoption entities, to procure adoptable children, because people who don't want to relinquish their children for adoption don't have to carry out their pregnancies to term. And I know there's a lot of people out there who might think that, the reversal of Roe v. Wade will increase this massive supply of adoptable infants to the pool, but really we just have not seen those numbers bear out. More than 90% of women who are denied abortion choose to parent. They're just not interested in adoption. So the number of adoptable infants in this country is microscopic, which is why when you look at the way adoption agencies run their businesses, their number one expense, the extreme majority of the time, is marketing. Here is a very rare public photo of the pricing of an adoption agency from Everlasting Adoptions. As you'll notice, it's race-based fees, I should point out. You'll notice that the number one cost in all of these adoptions is marketing and advertising. For a full African-American program, it is $10,000. For the conventional program, which is basically just any baby that isn't fully black or fully white, you're paying $14,800 for marketing, and for the exclusive, the white program, you're paying $16,900. When you look at these massive marketing expenses in adoption, these are the types of ads that this money is going towards. And by the way, this is ACF Adoptions. I don't know if this is the adoption agency that Bella and Della used by going through Christian Adoption Consultants. Christian Adoption Consultants works with a lot of adoption entities in the state of Florida. But I do know for a fact that at least some point in time very recently, Christian Adoption Consultants has worked with ACF Adoptions. Let's look at some of these ads. These ads are just predatory. You have a mother who is thinking about adoption, thinking, what can I do to help my baby? Maybe I'm not ready to think about adoption, but here's a good ad. Unplanned pregnancy help, local adoption agency in Miami. Are you facing an unplanned pregnancy or not yet ready to be a parent? We are here to help unplanned pregnancy. Well, how are they helping you? They're just taking your baby from you. That's their version of help. Like, have we ever considered that helping a mother doesn't really look like taking her baby away from her if that's not what she wants? I'm not in love with the term help anywhere in adoption agency advertising because you're not helping anyone. Help doesn't look like taking a child from its mother. Here's another one. Teen and pregnancy adoption, open adoption agency, North Miami Beach. If your baby is already born, we can still help you find a loving adoptive family. You don't know if this family is going to be loving. Like, you don't even drug test these people. How do you know what these people are going to be like? But adoption just creates this illusion. This is what your child's life is going to look like. So when you look at the big price tag of adoption, it's not as simple as these adoption entities want to make money, although that's part of the equation. Like, Christian Adoption Consultants has been around for a very, very long time. They've made a lot of money. They're getting paid whether or not you adopt a child. You're paying them fees, and whether or not they're successful, they're getting money for it. Adoption agencies are taking their cut. I mean, adoption in the United States, in many cases, is literally a for-profit endeavor. But even in the world of nonprofit adoptions, these are the 20 biggest nonprofit adoption agencies in the United States. In 2024, they collectively did $2.4 million in net income. So adoption is a massive, massive money-making enterprise in this country. And by the way, these numbers are publicly available. You can go on ProPublica's nonprofit finder. You can look at all of these adoption agencies. They all have to, because they're nonprofits, publicly list their numbers. These agencies are making crazy money. Gladney made $8.6 million in 2023. And look at these assets. I mean, the top 3 adoption agencies in this country have collectively, over $60 million just in assets. They're making millions of dollars a year in investment income alone. Like, this is a crazy business. And then when you get in the world of adoption consultants, it gets even crazier. I brought up adoption in Utah earlier, but it's really the case in Florida as well. There are just so many stories coming out of women being transported across state lines because it is easier to direct them towards adoption in their decision-making process when you're paying for everything, their housing, their food, their transportation, their medical bills. You're covering all of it. And by the way, some of the women who have bravely shared their experiences in these stories have detailed the experience of leaving a hospital and having an adoption consultant hand them an envelope with thousands of dollars of cash as they leave the hospital. Like, it is a truly insane world. I've made so many videos on my social media channels. This stuff is crazy. And the bottom line is this. The reason these women are transported to states like Utah, like Florida, is because it makes it more likely for an adoption transaction to take place. Bella is paying a premium. Dallin and Bella, I should say, are paying a premium because it is easier to not have the mother back out of an adoption when that mother is being financially supported in the way that she is being financially supported. It feels like support, it looks like support, but when you're the person who has had every single expense paid for you throughout your entire pregnancy, when you have this little teddy bear with your baby's heartbeat that is in the hands of these strangers' child, when these strangers are in the hospital room with you, dying to get their hands on your baby, it feels like an impossible decision to say, you know what? Actually, I want to parent. So yeah, at the end of the day, this might look like a positive adoption story. There are going to be plenty of people, I'm sure, in the comment section saying, this child is so lucky. She has such a great life. This is a video of a child being relinquished to a couple that is complete strangers. The child, we have no idea what this child's life would have looked like if she was not adopted. All we know about these strangers is that they're going to make money off of her. They're already making money off of her. If we are really going to pretend like adoption is this entity, this institution that gives adopted people better lives, which it's not, but if we're going to pretend that it is, can we at least filter out the people that are just going to turn these children into unpaid child laborers. Is that really too much to ask? Sorry, I know I'm getting worked up, but Bella and Della are the face of a changing adoption movement, because I have seen Bella and Della have had a direct impact on the world of adoption. This video changed a lot. Bella and Della advertising, broadcasting the fact that they worked with adoption consultants changed a lot. I have seen a lot of influencers now working with adoption consultants who in the world of adoption are largely viewed as extremely unethical, extremely shady, murky, questionable, whatever. Fill in the blank. Adoption agencies know that adoption consultants are shady because you're not working with one adoption agency. You're not going to the people down the street from you that are working just with the people located in your region. They are recruiting mothers using aggressive advertising from all over the country and trying to transport them to their state. This is why Bella and Della are flying and paying for Ubers and hotel rooms and rental cars and same-day flights, because it is all in service of the transaction. You know, I was adopted 30 years ago. People adopting 30 years ago were not going on these flights all across the country to adopt. They're going to their local adoption agencies. These mothers who are relinquishing are going to their local adoption agencies. Children are not being extracted from one place and shipped off somewhere else, except in the cases of inter-country adoption, which is a whole other animal. But in this world of domestic adoption, a world where we're talking about open adoption being in service of adopted people, it says a lot that not only are these people not at all acknowledging the family that this child already has, the woman who carried her, who gave her child to this family, but also they are in a state that is not the same state as the mother who gave birth to her child. It is more difficult for this child to have a connection with her mother than it was for me to have a connection with my mother 30 years ago. And that is because people like Bella and Della are promoting this adoption, tourism, designer adoption, whatever you want to call it. Adoption consultants are just people who work with all kinds of adoption agencies so that the richest people can cut the line. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's the end of the video. I appreciate if you're watching, if you've made it this far. Sorry about the audio. I don't really know how good I am at these, kind of short reaction videos. I'm working on some longer non-reaction videos. Hopefully I will have one of those. I don't know if I can promise by the end of the year, although that's the goal. I have a video about Caitlin and Tyler teen mom adoption, hopefully coming very soon. I've got an even longer video about Georgia Tan and the history of adoption in this country that is on the back burner. I was working on that video for several months. I don't really know how long it's gonna take me to finish that one. But we should have some good videos coming out on the channel, so please subscribe. I appreciate you watching. Take care. Have a good day. I don't know, is that how you end a YouTube video?